welcome to your third training module in the 10 Pillars of Successful Singing. In this module, I'll cover the importance of learning solfège and music theory as a singer, and I'll show you some basics of both. So if you're like me, when I first started singing, I hated theory. Hated it. I couldn't understand why I needed to learn it if I was just going to be a singer. Well, my senior year of high school, I was elected president of my show choir, which meant responsibility. I was handling admin, running meetings, and I needed to be a strong leader and role model for others. This also meant an unspoken expectation that the president of the show choir would be in all-state choir, and of course win a superior in a solo competition at state. So I wanted to be a good example. I didn't want to let my director down, and most of all, I really wanted to achieve this milestone in my life, so I really needed to step up my musicianship skills. Problem was, I didn't even know what that word meant. I didn't know how to read music at all. All I knew was that when the dots on those little lines went up, my voice went up, and if they went down, my voice went down. So when the school year began, my choir director offered to stay after school to tutor me. The singing test would be easy. But of course I needed to pass the written theory test as well as the sight reading test. Yikes! For 4 months straight, I worked diligently after school, practicing at home too. Then the time came to take those tests. It was on a Saturday on some college campus. I nervously took the written test, but then came the sight reading test. I needed to sight sing 10 measures correctly out of 30. I went in praying for a miracle and came out shaking in my shoes because I didn't think I passed. My director stood by with me and my friends. I felt like such a disappointment. And after lunch, we got the results. And boom, I passed both the written and the sight reading. In fact, I got 15 measures correct out of 30, and I had no idea how. But if I could accomplish that in 4 months' time, I felt like I could accomplish anything. So it felt like the beginning of a whole new world of singing for me. I won the superior rating at the all-state solo competition. I got to sing with the best of my peers in all of the state. Then I got the lead in the musical, and later that year, I received scholarship after scholarship for college. Those 4 months of intensive study is literally what led me into a professional singing career, and ultimately where I am today, right here with you. You're here because you want to take your singing to the next level. I'm here because I want you to succeed and guide you down the path of your choosing, whatever style of singing that may be. You need to know the basics of sight reading and theory. We're only going to touch on the very basics today because we'll be taking a deeper dive into these subject areas in later pillars. Listen, other than getting into all-state choir and winning competitions, there are 2 real-world professional reasons to learn this skill set. You need to, 1, learn and practice your repertoire on your own, often measure by measure in chunks, especially if you're premiering a new song or composition. This is especially helpful if you're workshopping a new musical or maybe a commission by a composer. The other thing is when you're working with other musicians, composers, songwriters, conductors, and other singers, you're all speaking the same language. You will be able to communicate so much more effectively and efficiently. It just makes that rehearsal process go so much faster. Let's begin with sight reading. One of the most important tools used in learning how to sight read or sight sing is solfège. And here's where I break out in song. Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. When you read, you begin with A, B, C. When you sing, you begin with do, re, mi, do, re, mi. The first 3 notes just happen to be do, re, mi, do, re, mi, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. So there's so much to talk about on this subject beyond just what we learned in grade school, watching that Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, or even in our college oral theory classes. So let's explore a few questions about it. First, what the heck is it? Simply put, solfège is a specific syllable assigned to a corresponding note. So like do is the first note of a scale known as the tonic. It's a tool, a pedagogical system used in conservatories and schools worldwide to teach music students how to sing and hear effectively. Solfège, or solfa, is also known as solmization, where every note of a diatonic scale is given its own unique syllable, which is used to sing that note every time it appears. Think again of that song Do, Re, Mi in Sound of Music and all the fun patterns that she teaches the kids to sing. So where did solfège originate? This system is actually found in musical cultures all over the world, and it's the form most associated with what we know as Western European music. It's called solfège, or solfeggio, if you're feeling particularly Italiano. And by the way, the name solfège is actually self-referential, which means sol and fa are two of the syllables found in the pattern. Sol, fa, solfège. Now for a bit of music history. In the 11th century, a monk named Guido de Arezzo gets the credit for gifting us with solfège. And his choice of syllables is actually a mnemonic, kind of like Roy G. Biv for the colors of the rainbow. It's actually for a chant dedicated to St. John the Baptist called Ut queant laxis, each corresponding to the initial sound that kicks off the separate musical phrases in the first stanza, except the last C or T, which was added centuries later. So let's test my Latin, shall we? Ut queant laxis, resonare fibris, mira gestorum, famuli tutorum, solve polluti, labiae reatum. Sancte Johannes. When Guido the monk codified those syllables without that final C or T, it created actually a 6-note series called a hexachord, which is a pattern corresponding to the first 6 tones of the major scale, like C, D, E, F, G, A. The names of those scale degrees of the hexachord are ut, re, mi, fa, sol, and la. Ut was later changed to do because it was actually easier to sing, and do was likely chosen because it's the first note of the scale, 1, and God being domine, do. Pretty awesome, huh? So why should you learn solfège? Okay. It's going to help you understand and recognize patterns faster. It develops your ear, which is what we call aural skills, and aural, A-U-R-A. And very quickly, it helps you sing on sight, like reading a book. And 2 patterns that you hear often are sol, do, and ti, do. Most new music students who have been practicing solfège can hear those intervals and quickly know what they are and how to sing them. Thanks, Guido! So Guido the monk happens to also be the same guy who originated staff notation as we understand it today. I won't go too in-depth there. We'll talk more about that in Pillar 5. But for now, take a look at the following staff. There are just a few things I want you to recognize. Notice that the notes go up in succession, line to space, etc. And each of those notes are pitches of a major scale. Major scales are primarily what we use in the spotlight vocal exercises to tune your ear and establish what? You guessed it, muscle memory. So, your mission, should you choose to accept it today, Songbird, is go to the Spotlight Vocal Exercises called Pitch Training in Module 8 or 9, depending on what your voice type is. Practice singing solfège with the scale song forwards and backwards, and then sing sol, do, and ti, do several times. You can sing it with me here. Sol, do, ti, do. Then sing it while reading the C scale on the musical staff that was presented in the module, which is also provided in your workbook. And as an extra bonus, this is a fun listen. So congratulations once again, Songbird. You have now been given the practical tools to develop your ear and recognize patterns very quickly. You are well on your way to becoming a super singer.